generated over 100,000 followers and collected over $100,000 in the month of May, all through my personal brand. I did it without forcing fast results, posting content I didn't align with, or copying other people. My clients are doing the same thing, doubling their followings, hitting record months, building brands that actually feel like them. But I almost never got here because for the first year, I was making the same 5 mistakes that 99% of people make while trying to grow their personal brand. Today, I'm going to walk you through exactly what those mistakes are, the real cost of making them, and how to avoid them, so you can build a personal brand that actually changes your life. Before I show you the mistakes, I want to tell you how I actually figured this out. A year ago, I was stuck. I'd been posting content for months. Some of it did okay, most of it didn't. I was watching other people blow up, posting the exact same content I was posting, and I couldn't figure out what I was doing wrong. So I did what most people do. I started copying them. I studied their hooks. I recreated their formats. I even started talking like them. And you know what happened? Nothing. My content felt forced. My audience could tell. And honestly, I hated showing up every day as someone I wasn't. It took me way too long to realize the problem wasn't my strategy. It's that I was building someone else's brand, not mine. Everything changed when I made one decision. I was going to create content aligned with who I actually was, even if it took longer and even if I didn't blow up right away. That's when things started working. I started documenting my real journey. I started speaking honestly about what I was learning. I stopped trying to impress everyone and started attracting the right people. In the last 10 months, I've grown over 100,000 followers across my platforms and made over $100,000 profit in May alone. And the best part? I didn't feel like I was grinding myself in the ground to do it. But more than that, my clients started getting the same results. Like Kayla, who grew from 4 to 22,000 followers and generated over $200,000 in under 3 months. And Clay, who went from 0 to 40,000 followers and landed his first big brand deals. And I can't forget Marco, who also grew from 0 to 40,000 followers, making $30K monthly recurring revenue in the process. And these aren't outliers. This is purely what happens when you stop making the mistakes I'm about to show you. So let's break them down. The first mistake is chasing fast results. And I get it. You see someone blow up overnight. You see them go from 500 to 50,000 followers in a month. You think, if I just do what they did, I can get there too. So you copy their hooks, you replicate their formats, you try to recreate their content shot for shot. Here's the problem. You're not them, and the audience can tell. When you chase fast results, you end up creating content that isn't actually you, and that's not sustainable. You attract the wrong audience, or worse, no audience at all. Let me tell you a story. For 3 months, I was working with a client. Let's call him Charlie. Charlie came to me frustrated because he'd been posting every single day for the last 6 months and barely cracked 2,000 followers. So I asked him to show me his content. Every single video is a replica of someone else's viral post. Same hook, same structure, same style. I asked him, why are you copying this person? He said, because it worked for them. I said, okay, but who are you? He didn't have an answer. Here's what I told him. When you create content, you're making a choice. You can either be completely original and be a leader, or you can replicate other people's content and be a follower. There's no right or wrong, but if you're replicating other people's content as the entire backbone of your strategy, you're setting yourself up to be a worse version of someone else. Charlie didn't want to hear that at first, but eventually, he got it. He stopped trying to recreate other people's content and started designing his own. He started talking about the real problems he was facing. He shared the mistakes along the way. And within 3 months, his following doubled. Not because he hacked the algorithm, but because people finally felt like they were connecting with a real person. That's what happens when you stop chasing fast results and start building something that's aligned with who you actually are. For me, this looked like documenting my own journey, speaking honestly about what was working and what was not. And honestly, that's the only reason I'm still here. Because if I had kept chasing fast results, I would have burnt out a long time ago. Now for the second mistake, focusing on the outcome and not enjoying the process. This one almost killed my brand. Here's what happens. You get so caught up in hitting a certain number, followers, money, views, that you forget why you even started in the first place. Content starts to feel like a chore. And here's what happens. It's only a matter of time before you burn out. Let me tell you exactly when this hit me. It was about 2 months ago. I had just crossed 50,000 followers. I was making decent money. Everything looked great from the outside, but I hated showing up. Every time I sat down to film a video, I felt this weight on me. I wasn't thinking about what I wanted to say. I was thinking about whether it would perform well, whether it would hit 100,000 views, or whether I would convert sales. And the craziest part, the moment I started thinking that way, my growth slowed down. I went from growing 1,000 followers a week to barely scraping 100. And it wasn't because my content got so much worse. It was because I stopped enjoying it. And when you stop enjoying it, people can see it. Here's what changed everything for me. I sat down one day and asked myself this one question. If I never made another dollar from this, would I still create content? And honestly, I wasn't sure. So I decided to go back to the beginning. I started putting 100% effort into the content myself, filming, editing, ideating, not because I had to, but because I genuinely enjoyed it. I stopped outsourcing the creative parts of the process and only delegated the tedious stuff that I knew I didn't want to do. And that's when things clicked again. I started enjoying the process of creating. I started filming videos because I actually wanted to, not because I had to hit a posting schedule. And the growth picked up immediately. I want to tell you about one of my clients, Marco. Marco came to me about 4 months ago. He had been grinding content for a year, posting every single day, doing everything right. But he was miserable. He told me, I just feel like I'm checking a box every day. I don't even care what I'm posting for anymore. I asked him, what's your goal? He said 10,000 followers. I said, okay, and then what? And he didn't have a direct answer. Here's the truth. The person who enjoys walking will go much further than the person who enjoys the destination. If you're only focused on the outcome, you'll hit your goal and feel empty. Or worse, you'll burn out before you even get there. Marco and I spent the next month redesigning his entire content strategy, and it was based around one idea. What content do you actually enjoy creating? He realized he loved showing his personality and providing value in a fun way, so we built his content strategy around that. And within 3 months, he grew from 0 to 40,000 followers and doubled his revenue. Because when you enjoy the process, consistency becomes effortless. The third mistake is not showing your real personality in content. This is the biggest one for me, and honestly, it's still something I struggle with. Here's what usually happens. You're scared of being judged, or you think you need to act a certain way to be taken seriously. So you dampen parts of your personality. You filter yourself and create content that feels safe. And the result? You end up creating content that feels inauthentic and forgettable. And people don't connect with you. They just scroll past. Let me tell you a story about one of my clients, Kayla. Kayla came to me about 3 months ago. She'd been posting consistently for 7 months and had grown to only 4,000 followers. She felt stuck. I watched her content. It was good. It was polished, very professional, but it felt like everyone else's content. So I asked her, if I met you in real life, would you talk like this? She laughed and said, no, not even close. I said, so why are you talking like this in your content? She said, because I thought that's how I was supposed to sound. Here's the problem. When you try to sound like everyone else, you blend in. And when you blend in, you become forgettable. So here's what we did. I told Kayla to stop trying to be so professional and start being yourself. She started speaking more openly on camera. She shared her real thoughts, even the ones that felt a little uncomfortable. She stopped trying to make her life perfect and started documenting how it actually was. And within 3 months, she grew from 4,000 to 22,000 followers and generated $200,000 in profit. Not because she learned some new content strategy, but because people finally felt like they were connecting with a real person. Here's what I want you to understand. Your personality is your competitive advantage. There are thousands of people in your niche saying the same things you're saying. The only thing that makes you different is you. Because if you're not showing who you are, you're giving up on the one thing that actually makes you stand out. I'm not going to pretend this one is easy. Even for me. Sometimes I dampen parts of my personality to appeal to a certain audience, and I hate it, but here's how I'm fixing it. I'm speaking more openly on camera, sharing my real thoughts, even when they're not polished, and I'm documenting my life as it is instead of trying to make it perfect. And the more I do that, the more people connect with my content. You just need to be you consistently 1% better every day. Making your own original content will feel difficult in the early stages, but it's a stage you must go through, because on the other side of that discomfort is a personal brand that actually feels like you. The fourth mistake is waiting until you feel ready. And this one kills more brands than anything else. Here's what happens. You think you need the perfect setup, the perfect niche, more experience, or you have to have everything figured out before you post your first piece of content. So you wait, and while you wait, someone with half your knowledge is already out there posting, learning in real time, getting better with every video. A year from now, they'll be miles ahead and you'll still be planning. Let me tell you exactly when I learned this. I spent 3 months planning to start my personal brand. 3 months. I was reading every book, watching every YouTube video. I told myself I was preparing, but in reality, I was just scared. I was scared people would watch me fail. I was scared my content wouldn't be good enough. I was scared I didn't have enough experience. And you know what finally got me to post? I realized that ready was never going to come. I was never going to wake up one day and feel 100% confident. I was never going to have the perfect setup or the perfect strategy, so I just hit post. And my first video was terrible. The lighting was bad, the audio was off. I didn't even speak in it. But you know what? Nobody cared, because the only people that saw it were the 10 followers I had at the time. And those 10 people didn't care that it was bad. They just cared that I posted anything. Here's the truth. Your first piece of content is supposed to be bad. Mine was. The only way is to start before you feel ready and let the reps do the work. I see this all the time. People sit on so much potential because they're waiting for a wave of confidence that will never come. Let me tell you about a client of mine, Clay. Clay wanted to build his personal brand long before he posted his first video. He had the niche figured out. He had the content pillars sorted. He had the posting schedule, but he didn't post anything. I asked him, why haven't you posted yet? He said, I'm not ready. I said, What does ready look like? He didn't have an answer. So I told him, here's what you're gonna do. You're going to post one video this week. It doesn't have to be good, it just has to be done. He hated that advice, but he did it anyway. And his first video got 200 views. Not great, but we did it again next week, and the next week, and the next week, until weeks turned to days. And within 3 months, Clay grew from 0 to 40,000 followers and landed his first few brand deals in the process. Not because his content was perfect, but because he stopped waiting and started learning in public. Here's what I want you to understand. You don't get ready and then start, you start. That's how you get ready. Every single post is making you 1% better. Every single video is teaching you something new, but only if you actually post it. So if you're sitting on content right now because you don't feel ready, this is your sign to just hit post. It's not going to be perfect, and that's okay. Because the only way you're gonna make content you're proud of is to go through the content you're not proud of first. The fifth and final mistake is forcing too much structure. This one might surprise you because most people think the problem is not having enough structure. In my experience, the problem is usually the opposite. People come to me all the time saying they need to optimize everything. They need a better content calendar. They need a better CRM. They need a better data tracking sheet. But 9 times out of 10, they're over-optimizing. Here's what happens. You build this massive system, 15 content formats, a 30-day content calendar, and a dashboard tracking 20 different metrics. And then you burn out in 2 weeks because the system's too overcomplicated to follow. I made this mistake early on. I had this elaborate content system with different formats for every day of the week, posting schedule mapped out 3 months in advance, and a tracking system that took me 30 minutes a day to fill out. I hated it because I wasn't creating content anymore. I was managing a system. So here's what I did. I stripped it all back. I built a simple content strategy with 2 to 3 formats I actually enjoyed. That's how I was able to stay consistent. I built a small team to take the tedious tasks off my plate, but I kept the creative work to myself. I started tracking only the core pieces of data that were needed to move the needle in my business. No overcomplicated tracking, no dashboard headaches, just simple strategy. And that's the system that grew me over 100,000 followers in the last 10 months and generated over $100,000 in the month of May. It was shockingly simple. Here's what I want you to understand. Everyone operates efficiently in different ways. What works for someone else might not work for you. So if you're in the early stages of scaling your brand and business, keep it simple. Pick 2 to 3 content formats you enjoy. Build a small team where necessary, and only track the metrics that matter. Because the simpler your system, the easier it is to stay consistent. And consistency is the only thing that matters. So those are the 5 biggest mistakes I see people make trying to grow their personal brand. And I know all this because I made all these mistakes myself. And looking back, getting over these mistakes are the only reason I am where I am today. If you can avoid these mistakes and focus on building something that's actually aligned with you, what you'll create is more than just followers. It will create a personal brand that can actually change your life. At the end of the day, it comes down to your willingness to stay consistent. The real question is, are you going to keep making the same mistakes, or are you going to build something that actually changes your life? If you're someone who's never created content and wants to start building an asset that can change your future, we've helped countless people achieve the time freedom, location freedom, and financial freedom they've always wanted. And we can help you do the same. The link is in the description below. See you soon.